All right, hey, and welcome everybody. This is Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is Christ and Culture. I want to welcome you all to the broadcast today. I hope everybody's doing well. It is almost midweek, and I'll tell you if, excuse me, a lot of stuff going on. I'll tell you, we were talking about this earlier. Pastor Tom and I were talking this before we got the show started. So much stuff going on in the world, and if you've blinked for 1 minute, then you probably missed it. You really did, because there's just so much going on. There's been fires and floods and riots, and it's just been crazy, hasn't it? And so we want to welcome you all to the broadcast, and hope that you're all just doing just fantastic, and that God is blessing you. Also want to welcome all our folks, our friends who are watching us on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast. And once again, pardon me for that. I got a little frog in my throat here today. But we also want to thank you folks who are watching us on Godstream TV. Yes, Godstream TV. You probably noticed the brand new website, and it's looking great, and we're trying to make it even better all the time. So, every it seems like every 6 weeks or something like that, some new thing comes on. So we just want to make sure you get that. You're invited to get in on the conversation on our YouTube channel at Christ&Culture Show, and go ahead and leave a message in the chat feature. And if you didn't want to do that, just go ahead and write to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. That's christandcultureshow@gmail.com. All right, got all that done. All right, and what would a show be without Pastor Tommy? Pastor Tommy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Pastor Sherman. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Yeah, another beautiful day.
Good.
Yeah, just another beautiful day. And I'm hoping the sound, for some reason my earbud is not working really well, so I'm going to try to do it without an earbud. So if it sounds like there's kind of a weird sound thing going on, I'm going to do as best I can to try to mitigate that. So Pastor Tommy, tell me what things have been going on with you lately.
Besides the high temperature heat, just working and taking care of people and getting people situated in their new homes. But yeah, it's been going good. The summer has been kind of quiet and nice, which we like. It gets to spend a lot of time with the family, and so it's been good.
Yeah, we went out looking at homes this weekend. As a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
My brother-in-law and I and his lovely wife, my wife's sister, went up to McDonald Ranch up in the country club area.
Nice.
Very nice. We went to all the way to the top up there where the rich folks
30
live.
million?
Yeah.
30 million?
No, this house was 17 million.
Oh, that's
Yeah, 17 million bucks I wanted for that thing, man. And it's like, I'm thinking, man, I don't know. Just, it seemed to me for 17 million, you'd have a couple of acres, and it's not that the house wasn't nice. It was a very nice house. It was just, was it really 17 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just old fashioned. I used to be a realtor years ago. I probably never told you that. I was a realtor.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a realtor years ago, and so for that amount of money, literally you would get 40 acres and a mule. You know what I mean?
Right. I won't tell you. My brother just bought 55 acres for 60 grand.
Yeah. See, now that's what I'm talking about, right? Where's he at? Where's he located at?
Arizona.
Yeah. See, that's the way it should be. Not you get like this house was it was probably 3,000 square foot, not even 4,000 square foot. It was 2 levels, and it had a spectacular view of the entire city. So, anyways, so we could talk about that all day long, but gosh, it is what it is, right? Well, let's talk about what's going on in the world today. I mean, some of the things that happened over the weekend were pretty amazing. So we're going to lead off with our first story, and it was really talking about some of the things that happened. There was an arrest that was made out in California. There was a pot farm that was out there, and this pot farm, oh man, this was like one of those stories. 360 people were arrested. 10 kids who were minors were among those people who were taken away, and this was like a spectacle. I mean, it really was. There was an arrest warrant issued to go out to this pot farm. I think it's one of the largest in the state of California. This is an AP story, and says federal authorities now say that they arrested more than 360 people at the 2 Southern California marijuana farms last week, characterizing the raid as one of the largest operations since President Donald Trump took office in January. One farm worker who they weren't even looking for him. I guess he ran, went up on top of the side of a building and jumped off 30 feet. He died. But there were a lot of people involved in this. The thing that I saw that was probably the most, and I want to ask you about it, Pastor Tommy, is this is all a part of the federal crackdown on illegal immigrants. And President Trump and ICE agents, they said that we're going to go after the worst first. We won't go after regular folks. But they were issued an order to go out and because they had some people out there, bad folks in there, and as they were trying to exercise their warrant on this, people started lining up. I mean, a lot of people started lining up and trying to stop these federal agents from doing their job, and so. And it got ugly. I mean, it got ugly quick. I mean, it was not like hey, guess what? A couple people decided they're going to say that they didn't want you to take these folks away. It got ugly. Rocks being thrown. People, they're putting their bikes in the way so that the federal agents couldn't get out of the place. And at one point, one guy even had a gun, and he was pretending. And I don't know whether he was pretending or not, but as he's running away, he turns around, he's got a gun, and he's shooting this gun. Yeah. So my question to you is, first and foremost, what do you think about the raid? And then my second question to you, Pastor Tommy, and I've got a follow-up too, is these protesters throwing these rocks at these federal agents. Something's got to be done about this because it's getting to the point where it's getting ridiculous. So give me your reaction to the raid first and foremost.
The raids should be happening. They just should be. President Trump said that they would happen, and they're happening. As far as those who are getting in the way, if you were to see a guy on the street, you're walking down the street, you see a guy getting arrested, if you were to jump in there and try and prevent those cops from arresting that guy, guess what? You're going to. Plain and simple. This is no different. Arrest them all.
I'm thinking the same thing. Why is this that these guys are not being arrested? I'm sorry. Why are they not just arresting everybody? It's like, look, you've got guys that are putting them, and now they're saying, "Oh, I'm protesting." I go, "No, you're. What do they call this? You're interfering with an arrest. You're." So, and there's an update on the way they're going to be able to handle this. But so number two is what do you think about these protesters throwing these rocks? I mean, these guys are like, this is dangerous because
they're out of control.
Yeah.
If you got into it with your neighbor and you threw a rock at your neighbor, guess what? That's an assault. It could be a deadly weapon depending on how big the rocks were and how it was thrown. There's no excuse for this kind of behavior, but we know in the last days that people are losing their minds. That's all it is.
I can't understand for the life of me how these folks can get away with this. I just don't. I watch these guys as cars are driving out of the farm. There's a guy waiting at the gate, and he's got a rock, and he's just hurt. I mean, he's not. It's not a little toss. This guy is throwing it like Willie Stargell. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is like some major league pitcher trying to break this window, and it's not one person. It's 3, 4, 5 people out there trying to break these windows. And so, number 2, in these compounds, they also found 10 minors. 10 minors, unaccompanied minors. It's not like their mom and dad work there. Their mom and dad were not there. These kids were just being, it looks to me like these kids were being trafficked or labor, youth, minors that shouldn't be working. So your thoughts on that particular thing?
Well, it's glad that it's a good thing that they were rescued because things are different. I my first job, I was 9 years old, but it was under the supervision of my parents, and they were good friends of the family, and so I had a real job. But to not know where their parents are, their parents aren't there, and they were unaccompanied, they need to find out what's really going on there because it could be something else entirely um, happening. You know.
Yeah, we actually I believe what happened is when over the last 4 years we had 20 million people come across the border, and the way these people were getting across the border is these coyotes, the cartels, were charging these people money, charging everybody money to get across, and if you came across, you probably were going to be in debt to these coyotes. So part of what they were doing is they were saying, look, when you get over to the United States, guess what? You're going to go to work, and you're going to send us that money to pay off your debt because you don't have the $13,000 or whatever it is. I mean, the cartels were making so much money. But in addition to that, so either there were kids that were being sexually trafficked. Some of them were saying, look, you just owe us money. And now these people are working. And then there were 350,000 kids that were not accompanied. They couldn't find them at all. Where do these kids go to? And so once again, we've got these, activists that are saying, well, no, these kids shouldn't. They should be able to be. I'm like you. I had my first job when I was a kid, right? But it was I did a paper route, right? Mom and dad knew where I was at. These guys are in a different country. They're in a different country, and they're working, and something has got to be done about this in America. So.
I agree.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. There was a story that happened today, as a matter of fact. Today, they came up with the Supreme Court gave the Trump administration a win, and the win was that they were saying that that they could have mass layoffs over at the Department of Education. If you remember this story, early on in the Trump administration, he made the promise that he was going to get rid of the Department of Education. And this is a crazy story. I mean, this is probably one of the more crazy stories too, is that he's going to get rid of the Department of Education, and when he does, he's going to return all of that power back to the states. Well, of course, there's always a faction that says, no, we want to keep federal government in it. Well, and then of course they sued, and Linda McMahon, who's the Secretary of the Education, fired 1,400 employees. 1,400 employees, but she said about half of the people that were working there at the Fed. Supreme Court came back and they said, yes, you can do this. Big story, big story. So the Supreme Court, in the story, another AP story, says the Supreme Court is allowing President Donald Trump to put his plan to dismantle the Education Department back on track, going through and go through with the laying off of the 1,400 employees. So this was just for the 1,400 employees. This is not for the other ones that are still there, or that they probably are still going to try to get rid of also. With the 3-judge dissent, so the vote was 6-3. The court Monday passed an order from U.S. District Judge Myung Jong, whatever, in Boston, who issued a preliminary injunction reversing the layoffs and calling it into action the broader plan. The High Court action enables the administration to resume working on winding down the department, one of Trump's biggest campaign promises. Now, this is on the heels of getting a report from the these polling places that the condition of our schools is terrible. It's not just bad; it's terrible. Do you think this is the right way to go for the Trump administration to by dismantling the Department of Education?
I think so because if it's not done now, when will it be done? And I don't know if you've ever studied the Board of Education and who started it and why it started, but not to get into it, but one of the Rockefellers started it. And the reason why they wanted to start the School of Education is because they wanted to control the narrative of education. Because instead, and it was during the Industrial Revolution, I believe, um, they wanted a nation of workers instead of a nation of thinkers. Think about that for a second. And that was his quote. So that's something to think about.
Well, and I would agree with you. You know that I think part of what you know I think that the way that the Department of Education has been conducting itself over the last 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it's been, has been pretty reprehensible. They've gotten all this money from taxpayers, and and right now what they're doing with that money is they're using it to fight against the Trump administration. Okay,
Right.
that money's not to go and make sure that the kids are more educated or anything like that. No, 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 no. That would make sense, But they're using it to to give to progressive Democrats to win elections and to basically line the pockets of the
Yep.
board members. And this is kind of a travesty, where you've got people who we are in the freest, most powerful nation in the world, and yet our education system, we pay more per student, we pay more overall, and we get the less bang for our buck with these kids. So your thoughts on school choice, returning, should parents be able to send their kids to any school they want, or should public education be where they're going to be at?
I think the parents should have the choice. You said something. If we are the richest nation, if we are the most powerful nation, then we should be the smartest nation. I would think we should have the best school system, the best healthcare system, but we don't. So, and we need to fix it. And I think that's what's happening now is dismantling the public school mindset. And, I heard someone say the other day, they got their PhD, and it meant public high school diploma. but, but that is
That's
funny.
hilarious. Too funny. Yeah.
but the point is though, we should, as parents, should be able to send our kids to the best school that's in our area and not be worried about a district, not be worried about, numbers, because the numbers is our kids scoring system should be high, not what we're paying for. Well, public school isn't free because it's paid with tax dollars, so we should have a say.
Yeah, it's funny. Um, so I'm reading a lot of history now, and about the founding fathers and how they started schools, and what they expected and of their kids, and it is so different than what it is now. I mean, it's so much different. I was talking about John Adams and those guys. These guys were already being groomed. They were already going to Yale by the time they were 14, and this wasn't like they're outliers. These were a lot of these our founding fathers. These guys were just very smart guys, and they expected the people that are going to these schools to live up to a certain expectation level. And nowadays, guys, it just doesn't happen. I mean, it just doesn't happen. As a matter of fact, they're dumbing it down all the time.
Yep.
And so I think that's part of the problem with America is, are we as Americans, are we asking enough of our school system? Are we asking enough of our leaders? Are we saying, hey, we want more, and so we're asking more of you, so we ask more of ourselves, or is it going the other direction?
Yeah, it's going the other direction. Not only that, I think we, as the parents, should be selecting who gets put on the school board, who's the principal, who's the teacher, and if they're not cutting it, we should be able to vote them out. No, get out. You're not cutting it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. You know what I'll tell you, but right now, if they get in on the school board, if they're superintendent, we had a superintendent here in Las Vegas, and you know this, for Clark County. Name was Jesus Jara,
Mhm.
and Jara got in. He was making 450, something like that, thousand a year. He was making more than the president of the United States, right?
For the
For
lowest state in the nation.
the worst, yeah. We were rated the lowest in the nation, right? And he was making more than the president of the United States. And then when they said, "Okay, we're going to fire you," he sued. He sued, and they had to keep him on. And he was going, "Nope, you're not going to just fire me. I've got a contract with you." I go, "Well, you're terrible though. This is, none of the stuff that you're saying that you're going to do ever came to fruition. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You signed a contract, and because you signed a contract, I'm staying." and and he stayed for another year, I believe it was, maybe 2 years, whatever it was. And then they just brought another one in. And so if I go to a job, guess what? And I don't do my job, you better believe they're going to fire me.
Contract or not.
Yeah, contract or not, they're going to get rid of me, right? But that's the problem we have with these teachers unions. With I understand they're fighting for the rights, and they're fighting for good conditions and everything else. But you're in a different category when you're a teacher. You're
Yeah.
in a different category when you're a police officer, a first responder, fireman, nurse. Okay, you now serve the public. Okay, you're not serving you anymore. You're
Right.
serving the public now, right? And as that, I don't think that you should. I don't think you should have the. Um, I think that things are a little different, because it's not as though that you're saying, "Hey, I'm just selling widgets," right? You're actually a public servant now,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
should be different, if you ask me. So I
I
think,
do. I do think that teachers should be paid a whole lot more. That's just my personal opinion, because if you're going to sit with someone else's kid and expect that teacher to give the kid the best, then they should be paid the best. And I see what these teachers make. And for them to put up with these kids who have no um, discipline, because they're not getting disciplined at home, I think that they should be paid a whole lot more to put up with what they have to put up with. Not only the kids, but the parents come in with their, and
I
they need to be paid.
I know, I work at a school, so so you ain't so I'm saying amen, brother. Please listen to Pastor Tommy. Listen. Yes, because you know what? But we're seeing a manifestation now. Now we're seeing what happens as a result of not of parents of the community not being able to speak into the schools.
Right.
With the advent of these teachers unions, I'll tell you what happened is now your parents have lost control of the school. They basically said, "Okay, excuse me, you guys just take care of them. You just
Yeah.
take care of my kids, and I won't have anything to do with it."
Yep.
And that's a mistake. That's a big mistake. Excuse me. Some of you, this might be the first time you're watching the show. I'm Pastor Sherman, this is Pastor Tommy, and this is Christ and Culture show. We come to you once a week, talk to you about some of the things that are going on in the culture. Hope that, excuse me, I'm going to get a real quick drink of water here.
Yeah, it's this hot, dry heat we're having. I'm
Maybe that's what it is.
experiencing the same thing. Also,
Maybe.
there's a fire blowing this way.
Oh, there's a fire. Yes,
Yeah.
that's from California, Nye County.
No, actually, it's um, Grand Canyon.
Yep, so we're getting the Grand Canyon. So we get from the Grand Canyon and Nye County. So we're getting
Yeah.
them both coming into this big bowl. So we got a lot of stuff going on. So if you'd like to get in on the conversation, folks, go ahead and go onto our YouTube channel and check out the conversation. We'd love to speak to you. You can even write to us if you want to write to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. Or just go to our, check out us online at christandcultureshow.com, christandcultureshow.com, and that'll take you right to our YouTube channel, our Godstream TV channel. You can watch all of our episodes. In the news, one of the greats died today. one of the greats, radio Bible teacher, author. Um, just a great guy. John MacArthur, Dr. John MacArthur died. Excuse me, he was 86 years of age. Pastor over at Grace Community Church in California. He'd been there since 1969, and he was also a syndicated radio Bible teacher on a show called Grace to You. This guy's going to go live on and on and on because he's spoken in the lives of so many people. I think that's one of the great things about what we do when we get on the radio, we get on this stuff like this, and we get to speak in the lives of people all the time. Your thoughts on John MacArthur passing away and really his impact on the community?
Huge impact on the community. Solid teacher. I didn't agree with everything that he taught, but for the most part, pretty solid. I don't remember in my lifetime as a believer any scandals. So to that credit is huge right now in this society that we live in, and I hope to have that same kind of legacy, like without scandal. Of course, people are gonna lie on you and try and set you up, but to have to come out and say, I'm sorry, I did this, I shouldn't have. He didn't have to do that, as far as I know. But yeah, very honorable. Many people looked up to him, and he will sadly be missed.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and that's really what you want to do. You want to leave a legacy of people, right? You know, gold, silver, that's all going to fade away, but
Right.
people and the lives that you've impacted, those will go on and on and on. And I believe John MacArthur, guys like him, that they'll leave a long, wide legacy
Yeah.
of lives changed, and yeah. So we want to offer up prayers to his family and the
Yes.
church that he left because he was there. He was still in the pulpit. That guy was still doing it every Sunday, right? He was out there
Yeah.
doing his thing. Wow, John MacArthur died at 80 in his late 80s. Another story came up is our vice president J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance took his family to the happiest place on earth, right? This is such a sad story. It really is. So you would think that the vice president could get a day off. He's got a couple of kids. Take Usha, his wife, and take a day off, right? Put on your ball cap, just go out and do something. This used to be a normal thing for public officials, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not gonna happen. So here's the story. J.D. Vance went out to Disneyland, take his kids, and then you have some knuckleheads out there who can't just keep things to themselves. This is the kind of society we have. They decide they're going to boo him and his kids. He's got little kids. He doesn't have like teenagers, half-grown kids. He's got little kids, 3 years, 5 years old. And so he starts getting booed by these people. And so this editor of a magazine called Mother Jones. I don't know if you ever read Mother Jones. Ever heard of
No, I
it?
haven't.
Okay, it's real. You won't even waste your time watching it. So the editor in chief of Mother Jones magazine, she I guess she sided with the people who jumped on J.D. Vance, and the outcry from her readers and from people all along the blogosphere, they called her a soulless ghoul because she suggested that it was okay for people to do this, to boo J.D. Vance when he's just going hanging out at Disneyland. And it's like, J.D. Vance is like, he's just, what he's doing? He's going out he's trying to serve this society. He's going out trying to serve his country. That's all he's doing, okay? You may not agree with the way he's doing it, but he's not like letting in 20 million, illegal aliens in the country, right? I know. Oh, I said that out loud too, right? He's not pushing abortion. He's not doing any of that stuff. What he's trying to do is he's trying to help President Trump with his agenda. So, but for people to boo him in public, I think it's just kind of a little much. Um, what? And he's got to explain to his kids. Well, Daddy, why are those people? Why do they hate you, Daddy? Right? And he's got to explain to his kid. Well, honey, these people are knuckleheads. And your thoughts on should this? Her name is gosh. It's her name, Clara Jeffrey, I believe is her name. The lady who's the editor-in-chief of Mother Jones. And do you think these people should have said, hey, look, there's a time and a place for everything. When you're out with your family, it's probably not a good time. Do you think that would probably have been better for her to say, or what do you think?
Yes, people are crazy. The thing is, you can't argue with people like that. But I agree that there's a place for that. You boo a baseball player, basketball player, football player if they make a bad play on the field. You don't boo them if they're walking around in the mall with their family, right? You would hope, right? But people are crazy, and the thing is, I wouldn't even waste my time arguing with a person like that because I have this idea. If you argue with an idiot, who's really the idiot? Just let it go.
Just let it go. But see, that happened. Um, the same thing happened 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where, and it only started in the last 5, 6 years. Right when President Trump came in, this climate changed,
Yeah.
where it became people came out of their shells, I guess, came out of their shells, and it became fashionable. Oh, I know who did it. Maxine Waters. Remember Maxine Waters? She says, you don't let them be comfortable any place. You don't. You just go up to them and you push back on them. And people started doing that crud. And there were people going out to eat their dinner. So they're at dinner and people come up to them and they start saying something. It's like, what are you out of your mind? I'm eating my dinner here. Well,
Right.
we don't want you in here. You're going to, guys. This what do we do? What has happened to America that has gotten people to the point where they think that it's just fine. It's just fine to be rude and just do stuff like that.
What we're seeing is literally scripture. In the last days, the love of many is going to wax cold because people don't keep the knowledge of God. They're going to be granted over to a reprobate mind. All these things are happening. People are losing their couth, their understanding of reality and the perception. Everything is off for most people. And I feel bad for people who actually reject Christ. There's some people that don't know. But those who reject Christ are the ones that we're seeing that are putting on this sorry display.
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, we had a conversation about this Sunday.
Mm,
Because these people are not pointing you to Jesus; they're pointing you away from all the things you don't want to do.
right.
This is antichrist.
It is.
This has gone beyond bad behavior, right?
Yes.
These people are being given over. I think the scripture says they've been given over to a reprobate mind.
Yep. That's what's happening.
Right? They've been given over to it because that doesn't make sense. There are people that I've had issues with over the years. If I see them in public, you know what I do? I go the other direction,
Yeah.
right? Or I walk by them and I kind of give them that little smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you think I would walk up to them and bow up and everything? I'm gonna get you. And no, are you kidding me? No, you don't do this. We live in a society where you're supposed to be able to you're supposed to be able to sway people with your opinion. You're supposed to be able. You don't sway them by hitting them with a rock.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
And so I think that's a problem. That is such a problem in our society. And maybe if people read the Bible, we've been talking about this. We've been really talking about this a lot lately, about what happened as a result of them taking the Bible out of society, because that's really what they've done. They've taken the Bible, and so the founding fathers. This is our history lesson, you guys. Our founding fathers, they said in school they wanted kids to go to school with a Bible on their desk. And the reason why is because the Bible taught them right from wrong. Okay? And it also taught them how government should work, because it said, guess what, these are what your leaders and everything. Well, when they got rid of the Bible, guess what happened? Things started going like that, right? And we are the first generation, Pastor Tommy, you and I, because I was born in, I'm not going to tell you.
All right, I was born right after you.
But it's just about the same time that a year after I was born, that was when they outlawed the Bible, that a teacher could not anymore lead prayers or anything like that in a class. And then in the 70s, they said, okay, basically, look, Bible's off your desk too. We don't want them in there all. So we're the first generation, you and I are the first generation that has not had that in-your-face influence of the Bible as a daily part of Americana. Mm-hmm. And so now we're seeing the results of that.
Yep. You know, you said something that took me back to my childhood, and I haven't really heard it since then. Anyone that's younger than me have not heard it, other than my kids and maybe your kids. But we grew up learning right from wrong. We heard that. You need to know right from wrong. I am here to teach you right from wrong. There is no teaching right from wrong anymore. It's do whatever you feel. It's just, yeah, wow.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, now they say, oh, it's your truth. Oh, that's your truth. Your truth, that's not my truth. You know, that works for you. I go, really? So if I come into your house and drink all your soda pop, you're good with, right? You're all good with that, right? No. Okay. So I think you're right that we live in a society right now where there's no absolute truths. No. And people will hold that against you because they will say, oh, no, that truth is, it's old. That's old thinking. That's old. Yeah. You know, right now, I believe that this is true because I feel it. Oh, so you feel like a girl right now, but tomorrow I might not feel like it. It's my truth. And then you have people like Oprah, right? Oprah, and this was her. It really was. You're going to speak the truth to power. This is your truth. Go on, girl. Speak your truth. You know, your truth is ridiculous sometimes, right?
Yeah. We need the truth. There's only one truth. And it don't change.
And that's why the founding fathers said you need a Bible. Because that truth does not change. It never changes. And people said, well, you know what, that doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. We're going to have to get rid of that Bible.
Yeah.
Right? Wow. Yeah. For those of you folks who might just be dropping in on us just now, and you're thinking, what are these guys even talking about? I'm Pastor Sherman. This is Pastor Tommy. And this is Christ and Culture, the show where we talk about things that are going on in the culture and hopefully try to take a look at it from a Christian perspective and maybe give you our spin on what we believe is the truth according to Scripture, not because it's our truth, because it is the truth. Amen. And so you can actually get this broadcast on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Also, you can get it on YouTube and on Godstream TV. And we encourage you guys. Share this with all your friends, okay? Share it with all your friends, as many as you can, and subscribe to the channel. Okay? If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you're just kind of passing through, subscribe to the channel, because that way, every time we do the show, you'll get a notification. That way you don't have to wonder, oh, did they do the show? YouTube will tell you all about it, okay? So there was another story. This is an AP story also, and you probably heard about this guy, what's his name? Epstein. So this guy, Epstein, gosh. So there's a guy, so what's the guy's first name? I forgot the guy's first name. Jeffrey Epstein. So Jeffrey Epstein's he's a nasty guy. He's passed on now, and he was arrested for trafficking young girls and all kinds of nasty stuff. Well, anyways, in his exploits, he brought a lot of people into his circle If you thought P. Diddy was bad, you guys, he probably learned it from Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, those guys all kind of did the same sort of thing, except for Jeffrey Epstein supposedly had a clients list of all the people that he brought into his inner circle, and they were messing around with young girls and child pornography. The whole thing is just kind of nasty. Well, Jeffrey Epstein got thrown into jail, and he died mysteriously. Under mysterious circumstances, he died. Well, people said that he had a clients list, and Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General of the United States, says, yes, that clients list is on my desk right now, and I'll let you guys know. The Trump administration is releasing all this information to the public. And so that day finally came, folks, where we're saying, all right, we're going to get that list of those names. And Pam Bondi comes up and she goes, no, nothing's here. There's nothing a part of this list. And people are nuts. They're going apoplectic, okay, on both sides of the aisle. Democrats and Republicans are going, you've got to be kidding me. You said that there was something going on. Pam Bondi said, no, I told you that list is on my desk and I'm going to review it. And when I reviewed it, there was nothing there, guys. Sorry, there's nothing there. So the article that is a part of the on the AP is that because the Trump administration has set the stage for people to be suspicious about all this other stuff, that now the president is getting his just desserts because he's the one who told MAGA, okay, the Make America Great crowd, to be suspicious of everything, and that they didn't get anything that they should be suspicious about it. Here's what I think, Pastor Tommy. You give me your spin on this. I think that list, that there is a list of people on that list, but I believe that the Trump administration has learned a lesson. And because the list, guess who made up that list? The former FBI director, the former CIA directors, because those guys are gone. And those guys got fired, okay? And they got fired because they were just slime balls, okay? And I bet you there are names on that list that probably shouldn't even be there. And because those guys probably knew, guess what? They're going to come and they're going to find all this information, and I'm going to make sure this person's name on it, that person's name on it, this person's name on it, and those names probably shouldn't even be on that list. So your thoughts, Pastor Tommy, do you think that maybe some of these names on there that probably didn't think anybody would ever hear about them?
That's a pretty interesting point of view, because I hadn't thought about that, but the way that you put it, yeah, I could see that definitely happening. I believe there is a list, and for whatever reason, it's probably best that it doesn't come out right now, for whatever reason it is. And one of the things, when they first came out and said that there was no list, I go, no, there's a list. And I just started thinking, okay, my first thought was, I hope they didn't get to President Trump and now he's, I was thinking that. And so I've been praying for that. And I'm still praying for that, just to make sure. But deep down, I feel like there's a reason why that list is not being released. Not that it's I don't, I think it's, sometimes things aren't good for a country, or it's not good for someone to know the truth at that particular time. I don't know, but and here's another thing. I don't think he's dead. I really don't think he's dead. I just do not think he's dead.
So you don't think Jeffrey Epstein is
No,
dead?
I
No.
don't. No, because first of all, he's too powerful. He was convicted, but didn't spend any time in prison before that.
Well, yeah, because he died, though, in
No,
prison.
I mean years ago. I think it was 97 or something like that. And so I don't think he's dead. I think he's got
You think no, Jeffrey Epstein just went to jail just a couple of years ago?
No, he was convicted previously in the 90s for the same thing.
Okay,
But he didn't spend any time in prison.
that's true. Yeah, you're right. because I believe he probably got to people and they said, "Hey, if I go to jail, guess what? You're going to lose your right."
That's what I'm getting at. That's why I don't think I just it's just my opinion. I don't really have any basis for it. However, I did see a podcast where a guy that was in that same cell, not at the same time as Jeffrey Epstein, but was in that same cell and said there is no possible way to hang yourself in that cell.
Well, I'd hate to be the one to find out, but yeah, let's just prove this. Okay? But somehow or another, they are Pam Bondi is having problems because her and Cash Patel is the head of the FBI, and his assistant, forgot the guy's name now. Oh gosh, Dan Bongino. So Dan he's gone apoplectic now. Dan Bongino's like yelling and screaming, like, "What do you mean there's no list?" I'm going, "Hey guys, here's the deal. Even if there is a list of people, and I think we agree that there probably is a list of people, what good does it do to expose these people unless they are in a position of power? Trust and respect, I guess. If they're just like, regular Joe off Hollywood, guess what? Nobody. You know what? It's not as though that if some Hollywood producer or let's say P. Diddy's people. P. Diddy hung out with all kinds of nasty people, right? Okay. Those people all decided that they're going to be nasty together, okay? There's really not much you can do about it. Are you going to put them in jail because they're all nasty together? No, okay? And unless you've got people who are hurting other people, okay? If they're hurting other people, that's a different thing, okay? If they did something to some young underage girl, I could see you doing that, okay? But if you're just exposing people just to expose them, guess what? Get in line, because there's too many people out there that are just foul in this world, and that's just me. I mean, and other people have other opinions on it, and neither. I don't think they're wrong in that opinion. Justice, but guys, guess what? I don't think that this is going to make a big difference in America, that we expose that Jeffrey Epstein hung out with a bunch of, like Bill Clinton. I bet you Bill Clinton's on that list.
Oh yeah, everybody knows it. He's probably number one.
I bet you Hillary Clinton's on that list too.
Number two.
Barack Obama is probably
number three.
Right? There are a bunch of people on this list, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And unless they hurt some young girl and she wants to press charges, let her come up to bat. Let her come up to bat. The guy's dead now. What are you going to do? Anyways, that's my opinion on it. So, which doesn't, before we lose that, run out of time here, let's talk about probably one of the biggest stories that's going on right now is the auto pen thing with Joe Biden. Breitbart reports that there's people who on the left who say, you know what? Everybody does it. Everybody uses an auto pen. You got a pen. It's like Oprah again. You got a pen. I got a pen. You got a pen. You want a pen, right? Everybody's got a pen, right? Here's the problem, though, is Joe Biden was prolific in his use of the auto pen, especially in like the last day of him using the auto pen, where I think they wrote over 1,000, pardons in the last days. Did he know? Did he not know? Did somebody say, "Hey, Joe, we're going to do this," and he goes, "Yeah, whatever," and they just started writing? I think that's probably the bigger story than anything else. What say ye?
Yeah, I don't think he might have known, but not really known. And he's gonna stand up for his party. He's gonna stand up for his people and say, "Yeah, I authorized it." What else is he gonna say? Is he gonna say, "No, I didn't authorize it. Who did that?" Now you got a whole another big can of worms open. So I think they took advantage of him, and he's just gonna he's willing to be the fall guy for it.
I can't imagine him being the fall guy. I think he has other people be the fall guy, right? He's like the one going, "Hey, you fall on that sword," right? But they already shamed him in front of the entire world. I mean, not just his party, not just nationally. The whole world knows the guy is incompetent. And now he's like, what is he? Now is he like saying, oh, you know what he's doing? Oh, I got another one. You know what he's doing it for?
What's that?
He has no money to build his library. His presidential library, nobody's stepping up going, yes, we got $20 million. Okay? He still has to raise money for his own presidential library. He got nothing. Right? And he's probably made a deal, like going, hey guys, I'll make you guys a deal. $20 million. I need a presidential library, and I'll stick up for you. Because what are they going to do to him? Right?
Yeah. Maybe
Right?
that's it. Huh.
See, I'm starting to think like these politicians now, which is kind of scary, isn't it? That is scary. My gosh. So, so they said that there was a guy. I think I forgot the guy's name. He was his chief of staff. Not Ron Klain. There's another guy. They said that he was the guy who was basically the one who was given he gave the last, sign
Was
off.
that Joe Biden's boyfriend?
What's it?
Was he? Wasn't that like Jill Biden's boyfriend? Or
No,
they
it
were
was a
always
different guy.
together?
It was a different guy. Yeah, it was a different guy. His name is like Keel or Zeal or something like that. Kite or something like that. But yes, he was. And if it's funny, all of a sudden now they show videos and pictures of Joe Biden, and you see the guy. You go, oh, I never saw that guy before.
No, right?
He was the puppet master before. That's why he was the guy who had he was the puppet master all this time. And, So what was the guy's name? Oh, gosh. So I'm going to pull up this article really quick here because the guy's name is very important. It really is. The guy's name is... give me 1 second here. His name is Jeff Zients. 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 Jeff Zients. And evidently they said that the last day of Joe Biden's being in office, that the first level aides and the second level aides all met with Joe Biden, and they all kind of hung out together till 10 o'clock at night talking about the level, and this is either this was a true story or they came up with this great story. And they came up with this story about the level of people, the categories of people that they're going to pardon. And here's the problem with a lot of this stuff is because some of these people were pardoned, and these were evil people. These were not people who were swept up in an ICE raid, and they happened to be at the Starbucks and got arrested, and been serving a couple of years. Okay, these guys were evil. One guy cut off some lady's head. Another guy was a rapist. Another guy was these were some foul, evil people. They got pardoned. Okay, and the worst of them was Anthony Fauci, and so Anthony Fauci not only got pardoned for the time that he is in office, but the time before he was in office and any future things that he might have done. So they were covering the bases with everybody. They're going, Joe Biden did not come up with this list. He did not come up with this criteria.
I don't think so.
Right?
I don't, yeah.
And so they say so what does it tell you when the only person whose name was not auto pen signed, okay? The only person whose name was his son, Hunter Biden. What does that tell you?
Yeah, that tells you that he signed for his son and nobody else.
I think it tells you all you need to know.
Yep,
That's really all it needs to know, because Joe Biden didn't care about nobody else. He said, I don't care. You can do whatever you want. You pardon anybody you want, as long as my son is pardoned, and he is the only one I'm going to sign, and that's it. And he took out his pen, and he said,
Yep.
Hunter, that's it. Everybody else, you can pardon anybody you want. And these people are going, huh. So that's why this is so bad. But Joe Biden, as you said, is stepping up to the bat now, and he's telling people, he's going, oh yeah, I did it. Oh, I'm good. I'm really good. In the last couple of minutes we've got here, a story that we just celebrated the anniversary of, and it's one of those stories where it's not a great anniversary, to tell you the truth. In Pennsylvania, just a couple of days ago, Butler, Pennsylvania, President Trump last year, about this time last year, came within that much of being killed, his head blown off by a sniper's bullet, and so this was just a year later, and there was a guy. His name is Corey Compatore. He did die. He did die as a result of that being shot during that fateful day. Well, there was a story that came up, and it said that they knew about this. That they knew. Chuck Grassley knew about it. There was a report that came out 10 days before. That guess what? There was a likelihood, and they said it was a credible story, a credible lead that something like this was going to happen. And yet, they put in inexperienced Secret Service agents. They put in inexperienced Secret Service agent supervisors. They did not have all the things they needed for this whole thing. And the places where you could get to the president, they did not cover those things. Do you think that how deep do you think this is going to get before we find out the truth about them leaving President Trump, available to be killed? I guess probably the best thing I could say.
I think it's going to be deep as we can even imagine. I have been around a sitting president where Secret Service was there. I've been in those situations, and Secret Service does not play. They come in beforehand. They send someone to scout. They scout the area. They set up places to keep a scout on the area. They communicate where everybody is, the layout. So I know for a fact that somebody dropped the ball or set the ball up to be handed off like it played out. And man, that's just awesome that his life was spared.
Yeah. Pastor Tommy, this story, it says former President Joe Biden's U.S. Secret Service received a credible threat on the former president that his life was going to be, that they were going to shoot at 10 days before he was even there. They knew something was going to happen. I think that, and here's the thing about it, and I can't prove it, but I can say it, is I believe that the hate, the vitriol, the level of angst against Donald Trump was to the level that they were hoping that he'd get killed.
Yep.
I really do. I believe that they thought, oh, well, good. If he gets killed, too bad. But we're not, because they didn't give him a full complement of Secret Service agents. They gave him inexperienced people. They gave him people that, this was like watching, Mayberry, RFD or something like that, Goober. And these folks, if it were not for the fact that the hand of God moved this guy's head, right? Yeah. God touched his face and he went like this. He looked and that bull went right by his, because if he's looking this way, he's done.
Yeah. Yep.
If he's looking straight ahead, he is done. But God touched this man and saved his life. And there's a lot of reckoning to go. And I think they're going to probably do a full on. Now, here's the problem you've got with President Trump now and him saying anything about Secret Service now. Those guys are paid to save your life now. You cannot go and start throwing allegations at them.
Right. Yeah.
That's like you sending back your steak, right?
Yeah.
To the high priced, chef, and you think it's going to come back. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's got. Boy, this tastes so much different. What'd you put on it?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the best thing you'll ever taste.
Did you ever watch The Help? No. So The Help was a story about these black maids, or that would go into these white homes back in the 50s and 40s and stuff like that.
Was that with a pie? This the best pie I ever tasted. What did you make? Yes, I saw it.
That's the one. That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was, right?
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh yeah. You go ahead. You enjoy that. Take some more. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That's it. President Trump cannot say nothing. He cannot. You know, the only thing he can say is, "These are the best guys in the world. These are the best guys in the world. These are the best guys in the world." Until they find out who these guys are, and once they find out who it is, then he's got to hang him. He's got to hang him hard. Hang him hard.
Yep, man. I agree.
Wow. Anyways, Pastor Tom, we're out of time. We're out of time here today, and there's so much going on. There really do. But you know what? I want to encourage folks, if you've been watching the broadcast and there's anything here that you thought, we needed to spend some more time on, just write to us. Get right to us at christandcultureshow@gmail.com. It's christandcultureshow@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Pastor Tommy, thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. We will see you again next week, okay?
All right, God bless.
All right, God bless you too. We'll see you. And folks, thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. It's been Pastor Sherman Ray for Christ and Culture Show. And once again, we encourage you, if there's something about the show you like, guys, just let us know. Write to us. Let us know that it's been good, and we'd love to hear from you. Once again, we will see you again next week for more of Christ and Culture Show. We'll talk later. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.